Hello and welcome to Adobe Live. My name is Alex Hogue, and I will be your host for the next 90 minutes or so. I am joined by Afoali, a video producer based in Montreal, and I'm super excited to get into her content. Today, we'll be focusing on using Generative Fill to transform your horizontal video to vertical video without scaling and cropping. So we're going to make it, in her words, we're going to make it bang. Um, so, Afoali, how you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hi, Alex. Thank you for having me. I'm doing good. I hope you're doing well as well.
I'm doing great. So, excited to jump into it. Before we do, I just want to say a warm welcome to everyone in the chat. We see Wade and a few others in here. And if you are just joining us for the first time, definitely subscribe to Adobe Live on YouTube as well as on our Behance channel and over on Instagram at Adobe Live. Follow there for any updates and just to keep up and learning with content. So let's go ahead and get into it. Afoali, why don't you go ahead and just tell me a little bit about yourself, what you do, and where you're based, and give us a little bit of a background.
Sure. Shout out to everybody who's watching this live and those who will watch it afterwards. So my name is Afoali. I'm a Montreal-based video producer. I'm originally from Cameroon, and I started creating videos in 2016. Everything I've learned thus far when it pertains to video creation has been through YouTube tutorials and practice until I improved. And I'm blessed to have had that journey lead me to several opportunities, namely working at one of the world's largest empowerment media companies as a video editor and then a video director. And I also have had the chance to start my own video production company called 916 Stories, where we are specialized in creating vertical videos for businesses, whether it's personal brands or commercial businesses. Speaking of vertical videos, you may know this or you may not, and that's perfectly fine. About 82% of the traffic on the internet goes to video content today. And most of the people who are watching that video content on the internet are watching it on their phones. And to make sure that you're telling your story in the most immersive way possible for people watching on their phones, we're creating a lot of vertical videos. And that's why I chose this topic for this live stream, because it's something that really excites me, figuring out how can we take a horizontal video that's in 16:9 and then make it to be a vertical video that's still immersive for someone to watch, but it's not too zoomed in, so it feels like the video's like claustrophobic, but also you don't lose the context of the scene that you filmed in 16:9 when you crop it to be in 916. So we'll be using Photoshop, Generative Fill, which absolutely love. You have to be living under a rock to not have heard of AI. And of course, Premiere Pro, which is the main software that we use in Adobe Creative Suite to edit videos. And I'm really excited to show you all how to do this.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to check it out. And I love the concept that you're bringing today because myself included, up until, hopefully after today, I always, rotate the video, scale it in and crop it, which I hate doing. I hate vertical video personally, but it's not going away. And I actually love that you've kind of created that niche for your business and really honed in on taking accountability and owning the vertical video. So I don't want to take away too much. I actually want to get into it and see what you got. So I think I'll just hand it off to you and let's go ahead and jump in. And for anyone in the chat, if you guys got questions, definitely feel free to post those and we'll get our moderators to funnel those over. And myself and Afoali, we will try our best to answer those. So
Alrighty.
with that, let's dive in. What do you got?
So first of all, before we get into it, I just like to shout out Carl. He's a creator on Instagram that I saw do this for the first time. I was like, I need to try it, and it bangs. That's the word is it bangs. So in order to do this, we're going to be using Premiere Pro and Photoshop. So I'm going to go ahead and open Premiere Pro and create a new project.
And I'm curious in the chat, for those of you watching, who here has played with Generative Fill, and how often are you making vertical videos versus horizontal videos
That's a
for
great
your line
question.
of work? So let us know over in the chat.
And I'd also love to know, when you're making your vertical videos, if you make them, are you using your computer or your phone, or rather your camera or your
Ooh.
phone to film them? So we're in Premiere Pro. I'm creating a new project. I'm just going to call it Adobe Live July 17th because that's the date of today. And I like naming my projects in a way that I can find them very easily.
Oh, if you watch any of my streams or see me on here, you know that I'm a stickler for organization and file naming. So I already love this.
It took me a while to figure this out, but now I know. So I created a folder for our live stream today. And within that folder, I also have organized how we'll be working through the assets. One of the folders we have is a project folder, and that's where we're going to be putting this project before we open it up. So I'm going to click on create, and here we are in Adobe Premiere Pro. So those of you who've been editing videos, you know, when you're creating a project, the first thing you want to do is import all your assets. If you have never created a video, basically you put in all the videos or the photos that you need to use to create your video into Premiere Pro. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. You can drag and drop it, or you can use the menu within Premiere Pro, but I'm just going to drag and drop it for simplicity's sake today. So I have all the A-roll that we'll be using to create this video. I've already named the clips. So we have 7 different clips. I've selected them all. I'm going to drag and drop them into Premiere.
How much footage are we looking at here for like the full video? And did you shoot this, or I guess like what was the full runtime, and what are we kind of bringing it down to? What's the goal here for vertical video specifically?
So for this specific live stream, what I decided to do is to use stock footage because I wanted to put forth people that I really care deeply about, and that's just women, specifically women of color. So I went on to Motion Array, downloaded 7 different clips of women looking powerful in their different careers. And so we're going to be editing that down into about a 6-second sizzle reel. So imagine the opening scene like of a show where you see all the characters. That's what we're creating here with these 7 different clips of these women.
Love it. Love it. Quick shout out to Josh over in the chat. And we also see Trev, Vandal, Wade. Yes, absolutely agree about the vertical videos. Just hate cropping it. So people in the chat are excited to see this technique. So you got a good topic here.
Well, I'm excited to share it with y'all. So we have all the clips in Premiere Pro. One of the things I love to do beyond organizing my clips outside of Premiere, when I get into Premiere, I also love to make sure everything's organized. So I'm just going to create a bin and name it A-roll. So what I did is I just selected everything, right-clicked, and then created, and then selected new bin, and everything went into there. So there we go. We have all the clips we're going to be using for this edit. Now, within Premiere Pro, when you want to create a project, you need to, rather, when you want to edit a video, you need to create a sequence, right? That's what Premiere places your video on. That's where you work on a specific video. So we're going to create a new sequence. I'm going to show you how to do that once again. Click on File, New Sequence. So I already have presets of the different sequences that I use very often. And in this case, it would be a 16:9 sequence because this video is horizontal originally, right? So that's what I'm going to select from my presets. But if you were doing this for the first time, what you would do is click on AVCHD 1080p, AVCHD 1080p 24 frames per second, and just click OK. But before you click on OK for Premiere to create that sequence, you want to name that sequence. So we're just going to name it 16:9, which is a horizontal video sequence. And or frame size.
For those of us that don't know all the different codec names they have in there, so the AVC and ABCD and all that stuff, do you ever just go to the custom area on the timeline there to create, you know, just a custom sequence and put in your own settings as well?
Yes, I do. And we'll be doing that together when I'll create the vertical video sequence. And I'll show you all exactly how you can select custom sizes, frame sizes to create a vertical video.
Excellent.
So the first thing we want to do is we have a horizontal video. We need to edit it, right? Before we decide, oh, I want to create the vertical version of it. So we're going to go ahead and look at all of our clips, select what portions of the clips we want to use to build this horizontal sizzle reel of these 7 powerful women, and place them on the timeline. So I named these clips by the order in which they're going to show up in the video just to make it easy for us. Here we have a lady in front of a building. She strikes a power pose, and we're just going to take about 2 seconds of that video. So I'm going to take a step back. You select the video you want to put on the timeline. You scrub through the video either by dragging your mouse so you can see the video as it's playing, or by clicking the play head right here, and it'll just play. Once you get to a point you're like, I love this part of the video, I want to use it, what you can do is you can click mark in. Essentially, it tells Premiere from this point, that's where I want you to take the video and then put it onto my sequence. So I'm going to put mark in here. I'm going to keep playing it. I'm like, this is enough. I pause it, and then I click mark out. So within these lines is what Premiere is going to put onto my sequence. So what I'm going to do now is I'm simply going to click drag video on only, because in this video edit, we don't need the audio, and it's going to drag the video only. So here, go ahead.
I was going to say, I feel like a lot of at least beginners don't know that as well, that you can drag in just the audio, the visual part, or the audio by clicking on those buttons there in the source panel. So I'm glad you mentioned that.
Good point. So on your left, you have drag video only, and on your right, drag audio only. So we have the first video on our timeline. As you can see, it's zoomed in because this is a 4K video. So we want to just resize it so it fits the frame. Perfect. So we have our first clip on our timeline. There we go. She started striking a power pose. I absolutely love it. We're going to go on to look at our second clip. Very similar pose. She's just a different woman, and she's in a different setting. So we're going to go ahead again, select that clip. So I double click on clip 2. So it shows up in my source window so I can play the video. I'm going to scrub through and see what part of the video do I like and what do I want to use in this edit. So I like this moment right here, right before she lifts her arms and folds them in front of her chest. I'm just going to play it again for 2 to 3 seconds. There we go. Mark out. So once again, you have the blue line in, blue line out, drag video only onto my timeline. And this is also 4K, so it's really zoomed in. I'm just going to take a step back so you know what I'm doing. Select the clip that I want to resize on the timeline.
Select and we're working in a 1080 timeline, correct?
That's right.
Okay, so the 4K, we're going to need to scale down 50%.
Exactly. So I click the clip, go into Effects Control. So to scale your video down, you're going to be using the scale feature, of course. So what you can do is simply decrease the scale until you're happy with it. But because we know that 1080 is just half of 4K, what you could also do is simply...
Oh, math. We're going to do math?
This is the last math we're doing. This is it.
Oh, okay.
We're done.
Here we go.
So what I did there is I just divided 100 by 2, which is 50, and made the scale 50, making sure that the 4K video fit into a 1080 frame. That's it. We're done with math.
For those of us not good at math,
yes.
Is there another way on the timeline that you could quickly just size it to your timeline?
There is, and we're going to get into that. So
I'm getting ahead. I'm giving
you're
away all
going
the
fast.
secrets.
Yes. So third clip, double click it, scrub through. She's looking down. I love when she looks up. So that's what I'm going to get just before she looks up. Put my playhead right there, mark in, scrub a little bit more until she's looking right at the camera and mark out. I'm just going to keep playing it to see if I like something else more. Oh, she smiles. I think I like that a lot more. Yeah, I think this was her actual pose, not looking at the camera. This is the pose. There we go. Perfect.
Oh, there we go.
So I just switched my selection of, and what I did is I simply kept playing the video. Once again, I figured out where do I want it to start, rather where do I prefer it to start, click mark in, keep playing the video and figure out where I want the clip to stop, mark out. I'm just going to drag and drop it onto our timeline once again. And here I'm just resizing it like all the other clips. I'm just going to go ahead and do that for clips 4 to 7. So she seems like she's in a call center where she's working from home, and it's a job where she's on calls all day.
Oh, I don't know what it's like to work from home. I've never done that before.
I wonder. I really
yeah,
wonder.
I don't know.
So I'm just doing the exact same thing, y'all, just with different clips here. If you have any questions about how I'm going about it, or if there's a specific step you're like, I want you to do it again, don't hesitate to put it in the chat, and I'm more than happy to do it again. So let's move on to clip number 5. She's giving CEO. They love the power
that look.
poses.
Yeah, that just oof. All right.
Yes. And I'm excited to get into Photoshop with this because, as you can see, their backgrounds are all very different, right? And we need to resize these and make sure that the frames are still looking like a video. Double clicking clip number 6. Here we have.
Welcome to the stream, Kunal and Paul. And we got Rob cracking some jokes over here on the Adobe Live Behance side. Love it. We got the math jokes going. Oh, he said there's 3 things. 1, work in images, and 2, math is hard. That's it. Rob, we might have to go back to math class because that's only 2.
Maybe.
But he'll resize the 4K to like 30%. It's okay.
Here we go.
For anyone just joining us, we are here. We are going to be, well, we're in the process really of learning how to take horizontal video and make it vertical, which might sound simple, but the traditional ways should now be called the old ways because there's a new way to do it, and that's with Adobe Photoshop Generative Fill. And that's what we're going to be working towards in this segment. We're here with Afoali, which is just absolute stunning creative. And right now we're going through on a 1080 timeline, taking 4K clips, sizing them down. And then we're going to take those, and I'm going to assume we're going to start to get to vertical stuff and slowly work our way there. But so far, really exciting, and I can't wait to get into the rest of it. So if you do have any other guest recommendations, if you want to be on the show or anyone else, on Adobe Behance, there is a little tab at the top of the chat, and it says guest recommendations. Click that tab, put your name in, put a friend's name in, put your cat's name in, let us know why they should be on it. But feel free to make recommendations over there. All right, I'll let you get back to it.
Alrighty. So my camera just switched out, but it'll be back in a sec. So we have created our horizontal video. We have all the clips on the timeline. We're happy with it. This is where you've probably like finished your video as an editor, and then someone came like, hey, could we make it a story? Or I'd like to put that on TikTok. Have you heard of YouTube Shorts? Like I'd like to get on YouTube Shorts. And here you have a horizontal video. Like, how am I gonna resize it? Well, you probably figured it out in the past. I'm just gonna like put the sequence into a 916, the video into a 916 sequence, zoom it in, and then there we go. But we're gonna do that here right now, and you will see why that's not amazing.
Good to see James over in the chat joining us.
Alrighty. So we have our video here. We have the 16:9 sequence, and again, organization friends, we're going to create a sequence bin and just put that sequence in there. So your client's like, love the 16:9 video, horizontal video, and I want a vertical video. So you're going to create a vertical video sequence. So you're going to click on File, New Sequence. And here I'm going to show you how you would create a vertical video sequence if you'd never created one before in Adobe Premiere Pro. So you're going to click on AVCHD 1080p, AVCHD 1080p 24 frames per second, because that's just the normal frame rate of a video like this in this case. Click on Settings. In the editing mode, we're going to scroll up and click on Custom. This is going to allow us to change the frame size. Frame size is what tells you if it's a 16:9 video, if it's a 9:16 video, 4:5, whatever frame size you want for the platforms you're going to be putting it on. And you can know what's the ratio because it's written right here on the right side of frame size. So we want a 9:16 sequence, so a vertical video. So we simply need to inverse the numbers, right? So it's going to go 1080 here horizontally and 1920 vertically. And as you can see, it now says 9:16. If this is your first time creating a vertical video sequence and you're like, I'm going to do it again, what you could do is click on save preset, name it, and it would save it as a preset. So every time you want to create a vertical video sequence, you don't have to like do what I just did every single time. I already have it saved, so I'm not going to do that. But what I am going to do is I'm going to name the sequence, and I'm going to name it 9:16 because this is a 9:16 video sequence. Great. So we have the sequence.
Yeah, and I love that little tip there about saving it as a preset as well if you're going to be doing this a lot. That's great.
Saves you time, yo. We don't do math, but we save
money.
time.
Yeah, and we don't do math.
Alrighty. So you would have edited your video. If you're the editor, you have the raw files, you have the project. So you probably just copy and paste your video into your 9:16 sequence, right? So here we are. We've taken those 4K videos horizontal. We put it into a 9:16 sequence. As you can see, there's a black bar on top of the video and at the bottom of the video because it's a horizontal video, right? Now, there's two ways where you have for you to resize it. The first thing you could do is simply click on the clip. The same way we scaled it from a 4K frame to a 1080 frame, you could do the same thing here and just increase the size of the frame, the video rather, the scale of the video to make it fit the 9:16 frame and also adjust the positioning, right?
Right.
That's not bad. But the thing I'm not in love with this, the reason why I'm not in love with this is with this clip, it kind of works. I don't love that we can't see the building behind her. That gives the context as to where she is, right? And then let's try with another clip, like clip number 7. If we zoom it in, she's all up in the screen. We completely lose her chest, part of her hair is gone, and the video literally doesn't exist.
And
So
not
there's
only
nothing.
that, I feel like you lose a lot of like the artistic element of your videos. Maybe not so much on these ones since it's just a headshot, but a lot of shots I find it's you just lose that background, kind of like you're seeing here. And man, yeah,
Exactly.
Not a fan.
You did all this work to light a beautiful scene, and just because someone wants to put on Instagram stories, it's gone. So we're gonna fix that. So that was the first way for you to resize your video, right? You could simply scale it up, change the position. The second way that you could do it is by using Premiere Pro's auto reframe feature. So essentially, Premiere can automatically detect, oh, this is the size of a video. You want it to be reframed for this sequence. We'll just fix it for you.
How convenient. No math.
Major key. So I'm going to select all the clips. One of the things that I value a lot is what I use my brain space for. So I don't like to memorize every single thing in Premiere, but what's amazing with all these Adobe Creative Suite apps is that there's a help feature where if you click on it, you can simply type and search exactly what you're looking for, and it'll find it for you, and you just click and it does it, right? Instead of having to remember, oh, if I want to do an auto reframe of a sequence, I need to go into the sequence tab, scroll all the way down and find auto reframe. So just search it in the help.
That is an excellent tip for anyone just starting out too, or if you're constantly doing this, like you said, you don't like to memorize where exactly it is in every single menu. I love that. That's great. It's like the spotlight on a Mac, you know, just to find something really quick. Yeah, love that.
Exactly. So I'm going to go ahead. I clicked on auto reframe, and here it lets me know what's the sequence I want to reframe, what's the target aspect ratio, and for us, it's a vertical sequence, so 9:16. And then you can choose what is the speed of the motion tracking. So if it's a scene where there's a subject that's moving, like there's a ball or someone running, you can specify how quickly do you want it to be tracking it. Here, we're just going to put default because they're not moving very much, so it doesn't really matter as much. And of course, we don't want them to nest the clips. Rather, we don't want Premiere to nest the clips, so I'll select don't nest clips. And there we go.
Why don't you want it to nest the clips?
Because it's for the next step. We're going to have to go into Premiere and then edit the actual clips, and I don't want it to be nested. That's simply for this edit. But if you were in a position where you're editing, you're like, I want my clips to be nested, feel free to select so that the clips are nested once the auto reframe is done. So Premiere has done exactly what you have done if you scaled the video and repositioned it. And as you can see, again, some clips are way too zoomed in. For example, here, we literally don't see where she is anymore. If anything, you'd think she's just in front of a grayish blue background.
Yeah.
Same here. Yeah. So what do we do?
I don't know. It's not it doesn't say bang to me.
It doesn't bang. It
In fact,
really
it's
doesn't.
really taken away from what's happening here. So I don't know. What do we do?
So that's where Photoshop Generative Fill comes into the picture. So we're going to go back to our initial 9:16 sequence that we created. We're going to reframe these videos. That's to say, scale them up and reposition them to a point where it's like, it doesn't fill the entire frame, but this is enough for my 9:16 video. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with the first clip so you see exactly what I mean. So here, I want to keep the building in the background, right? If I zoom way too much,
lose context on where she is, and
it's completely gone.
The video loses its meaning, right?
Exactly. So here, I want to be able to see both of her shoulders. I don't want it to be too zoomed in, and I want to see the buildings in the background, the building in the background rather. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to place it like this, and I'm just going to put her at the bottom of the frame. The reason why I chose the bottom of the frame is because we're going to be generating the rest of the image, right? If we have her legs or enough of her legs, if we placed it like this, then we go into Photoshop Generative Fill, we have to fill in her legs and the building behind her, which we could do, but again, not again, but another motto of mine is impact over input. If I don't have to do it, I'm not going to put in the energy. Like, what's going to have the most impact? And for me here is I want you to see where she is, which is the top of the building, rather the building behind her. So I'm just going to move her, change the position of the video so it's at the bottom of the frame.
That's an excellent way to describe how you make that choice of framing. The other question I have is, what considerations do you take, knowing maybe this is going to, I mean, who knows, it could go to TikTok or Instagram, whatever platform. Are there special considerations you need to take into account? Like maybe part of the frame has text on it or a chat or something like that you need to be concerned about?
Yes. So when creating vertical videos, things that I keep in mind a lot is how will the platform on which the video will be shared, the interface of that platform, how will it interact with my video, right? So on a lot of these apps, there's text, there's like, share, so on and so forth. So when I'm creating a vertical video, I'm making sure that when it's framed, nothing important in the frame is going to be covered by what the app is going to put over it. So I have stencils that I use. I can pull that up at the end of the stream, but I'll usually put them over my video when I'm done and just make sure that nothing important is being covered.
Love that.
Does that answer the question you had?
Absolutely. Yeah, that was kind of like, what are those considerations you need for those different platforms? Also in the chat, we're getting a lot of love for the stream so far. And Nicole, I see you over there, and she says, thank you for sharing your skills.
Hi, Nicole. It's a pleasure. Alrighty, so we're going to do the same thing for each of these videos. If you just joined the stream, what we're doing is we're reframing our videos to the point where it's scaled up enough, but we're not losing any context, because everything else that we don't have, we're going to fill in Generative Fill using Photoshop. So we did the first clip and we realized, okay, we want to just see the top of the buildings that are behind her. So we scaled it up and then positioned the video to be at the bottom of the frame. For this one, I think we're going to do the same thing. So we're just going to scale it up a little bit, make sure we can see her shoulders, both of her shoulders. And I'm just going to move it to the bottom of the frame.
And with what you're doing right now, the reason you're doing that, for those people just joining, the concept behind this is she's reframing it. So then we're going to take this into Photoshop, and it's going to use the new beta Generative Fill feature to make up for that area, right?
That's right.
Okay.
So for this one, I want us to try something a little different, right? Again, impact over input with all these videos.
Gosh, I
So
love that impact over input. So good.
shout out to my team at GoCast. They'll know
Yeah,
because
is
this is
that
something we used to
trademarked?
say
That's
all the
good.
time. It's not trademark, Mark, no, but it was just a mindset that we had. Like if you're editing, what's gonna have the most impact with the least input? Don't like do what you got to do.
Yeah, I love
So
that.
with these first three clips, they're all folding their arms, right? And what we really want to see is what's the space these ladies are in, because that gives us context and that adds to their individual stories. Now, with this fourth clip, she's in some form of a call center or she's working from home. We're not too sure. If we do the exact same thing as with the first three clips, that's to say we zoom in and we just move her to the bottom of the frame. So we'd only generate the top of her video, we lose the context of she's at a computer, right? So we're not going to do the same thing for this one. What we're going to do is we're going to zoom in enough, so scale her up enough so we can see both of her shoulders, but we're going to leave space at the bottom of the frame and fill that up. And that's great because we can practice what it would be like if you need to fill the bottom of a frame.
So I'm gonna ask the obvious question here, and this might be something you're gonna get into later, but would you ever, I mean, right now you have the vertical video, so you technically have more video on your right and left, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So would you ever scale the video down and then generate just completely new, or is that kind of like pushing the boundaries and of the generative fill? Like, so some of
I've
these you're
actually
still kind
never
of
tried
scaling up a
that,
little bit. I'm just
but I
curious,
like
if
I
you
like
left it in
that.
that, yeah.
I like that a lot.
And I know it's still a beta thing, so definitely something to kind of experiment with. I'm curious if anyone else has tried that. For me, this whole concept is brand new, so like my mind's
Mm-hmm.
already blown, and I think for a lot of people here. But yeah, that's kind of where my mind went. So, but continue onward. Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you too much.
No, but I love that idea, and it's definitely something I'd like to try. I think so. Within creating a vertical video, granted, you want to make the experience immersive for someone on a phone, but you also need to keep in mind that with vertical video and smartphone video consumption, one of the things that we're also fighting for is people's attention, right? So if you zoom out way too much, that means that the subject is a lot smaller in the frame. So you can't really see them. Granted, you will be able to generate the whole scene. It's like, oh, wow. But again, impact over input. Are you trying to grab someone's attention and keep the context of your story? Or are you trying to show your whole set? So you'd have to determine what you're trying to do when you're editing on your own time. That's for all those watching us.
Gosh, that's so true. I love the fact that you like specialize in vertical video, because these are things that I think a lot of people wouldn't think about. Is,
Mm-hmm.
what is perceived the best on your phone, and even what is the analytical data. Like you don't want it to be too far away because people won't be able to see it. So I love that insight and just like getting people's brains thinking about just where you're going with this and like what works best. Great tips.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty. So we have scaled all 7 of our videos to a point where we have enough context without being too zoomed in. We've scaled it enough without losing too much context as to where they are in the world in this specific video. And now what we're ready to do is take our video and put it into Photoshop to use Generative Fill to extend the frame so that it'll fill up our 916 frame. As you can see here, for each of them, there's black. So everywhere that there's black, we're trying to fill that up with what would have been there if we had actually filmed the video in the vertical video format.
Excellent. Yeah, let's dive into it.
Alrighty, I feel like you're hell excited
I'm
about this.
so
I love
excited.
it.
I want to make it bang. Let's go.
So a video is literally just a series of photos, right? When you say FPS, frames per second, how many frames in a second of video? Lots of photos, depending on the frame that you film a video at, right? So that's exactly what we're gonna do. We're gonna take advantage of that concept to be able to fill up our frames. So for each of these videos, we're going to take a screen grab and put it into Photoshop to generate the rest of the frame. Now, there's something that's very important that you do as you take these screen grabs of each frame. So I'm going to do it with the first one and show you what's the important tip here. Let me take a step back. So I scrubbed through the video. I think this frame is like, it doesn't really matter because she's in frame the whole time. But just pick a frame, select export frame. So that will be in your program window. At the bottom, you'll see export frame. If you don't see it, you just simply need to click on button editor, and it would be one of the buttons here, and you simply need to select it, and it will be added to your menu at the bottom of your program window. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to click on export frame. The shortcut on Mac is Command E. And here you have the menu to export the frame you've selected, right? So the first thing is we can name the frame. I'm going to name it clip number 1. Let's just keep it consistent. So we'll be able to like put it back in without having to like search which clip is it, or having to actually look at it to be like, wait, this is the clip. Next, you have format. So this is extremely important. In the format, you have different image formats that you can export the photo in, the screenshot in. It's important that you choose PNG because we need to have Photoshop have this frame size, but also have the space to generate the rest of the image, right? If you don't choose PNG, what you'll have is the screen grab and it's a black space, but we don't want that. So make sure to select PNG.
So then we're going to the alpha of it. Is that right?
Exactly. So meaning that where there's black right now that you see on the program window right here, it'll be transparent.
Excellent. So don't use JPEG.
Do not use JPEG. Use PNG, friends. So we're going to click on browse to figure out where do we want to save it on our computer. Again, I have organized my folders before we got into this. If you didn't, you would simply create a folder here. I've called it screenshots, and I'm going to put clip 1 right here and click on OK. And it's going to export that frame and save it in the path that I chose. So it's asked me to confirm overwrite because I already had a clip named like that, but that won't happen to you if you're doing it for the first time. So we're going to do this for every single video. There's certain limitations to doing this, and I'm going to touch on them like towards the end of the stream. For example, we're using videos where the camera doesn't move very much, nor does the subject within the frame, right? Which makes it relatively easier for the editor who's using Generative Fill, especially when we're talking about editing the video from a specific screenshot. So
yeah,
here what I'm...
this is like cutting edge too, just in the sense like a lot of these have, very little movement and pretty clear like depth of field going on. Mm-hmm. Is that what helps it really sell the effect of, what's AI generated versus reality?
Well, it's great images, yes, but there's something we'll do in Premiere Pro when we put it back in that like just makes it seamless. You're like, I didn't, unless I told you, you wouldn't know that part of the image wasn't actually filmed.
Oh, so secretive. You're hooking
I like
me.
reveals.
I'm into it. Yeah.
I like reveals.
Building us up.
So as I mentioned, for those who just joined the live stream, what I'm doing here is I'm taking screenshots of each clip in my sequence, in my video, exporting a frame, making sure that it's a PNG file, meaning that the portion that's black or that doesn't have an actual image is transparent before we take it into Photoshop Generative Fill, where we'll be able to fill the frame to turn a horizontal video in 16:9 into a vertical video, which is 9:16.
And forgive me if you touched on this, but as you're grabbing those frame grabs, are you picking like a particular frame in mind, or are you just kind of, they're mostly pretty similar in this instance, but is there anything specific you're looking for, or are you just kind of grabbing whatever frame you think might work best?
For these, it's quite simple because the camera isn't moving that much. So what I'm trying to say is when the camera is not moving, you just need a frame where everything that you want to be in frame throughout the whole video is visible, right? Now, thank you for bringing that up because this is a point I'd like to make here. In this clip, her head moves.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Like her head moves, but also it's a little tough to tell, but is her hair getting cut off?
And her hair is getting cut off.
Yeah.
That's right. So when I was doing this and when you'll be editing as well, with this specific editing trick, you have to be mindful of what portion of a video you choose to take from your horizontal video to your vertical video. So for example, for this here, ideally, I wouldn't pick a frame where she's moving too much. Like I pick a frame where she's still mis en valeur. This is me speaking French now, but we still shine the light on who she is as a character in the story, but without putting too much stress on the editing that we're trying to do right now, right? So I'm just gonna go back into her original clip. So there's two ways to do this. You can right click on it, the clip, and then simply reveal in project, and it'll just pull it up in your project tab, or you could go into the project tab and search for the clip. I selected the first option that I just showed you. I'm gonna double click the clip to play it. And just scrub through and see if there's a moment where she's not moving as much. But she still would be happy to see herself in this video, right? Even though we've cropped her or we've reframed the video. So this here, she's smiling, she looks happy, but she's not moving as much. So I'm gonna switch out the clip. So this is me troubleshooting because I have experience with this. If I didn't, what would have happened is I'd have gone into Photoshop, done everything that we're about to do, and come back and be like, oh, this doesn't work.
This is why people are here. These are the pro tips. We're saving people time right now.
You know what I'm saying? So this is maybe
the life of an editor too.
Welcome to my life, y'all. So I've selected a different clip, and as you can see, because I haven't reframed it, like changed the position and the scale, it's still really zoomed in. It's that 4K video. I could do it manually again, but what I'm going to do is simply select the video where we already had the exact scale and position that we liked, go into the effects control tab, select motion, Command C, or right click and copy, and simply paste that onto the new clip. And it'll do the exact same thing that we had on the clip that we realize is not great for this edit. And I'll just delete that one. Alrighty. Sweet. And then what I'm going to do is just get a screen grab from there, name it clip number 7. Again, make sure it's PNG. I've chosen the path, and because we already had a clip called clip 7, it's telling me, hey, what's up? And I'm like, no, it's okay. Confirm overwrite. Perfect. So we're ready to get into Photoshop.
Premiere Photoshop.
Listen, that's what it's going to become at this point. Alrighty. So I've just opened up Photoshop. This is what it would look like. If you've never used it before, you wouldn't have all these projects under because you would have never created a project. What we're going to do is open up the images that we just exported. So I'm going to click on open. Select all of the images and click open. So again, remember how we made sure to export the frames as PNGs? If we did not do that, right here, it would be black. Where you see the checkerboard, it would be black. But we don't want that. We want it to be transparent so that when Photoshop fills the frame, it knows this is the frame like of the final image that Afoali wants, and then this is where it needs to be filled. Whereas if it was black, that wouldn't happen. I've actually never tried it when it's black. Maybe I should. Maybe we'll do that in the end if we have time. Alrighty, so we have all our clips in here. Let's open up clip 1, 2, 3.
And just so you know, since you mentioned time, we probably got about just over 45 minutes or so left, and then we'll kind of recap things. So,
okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Alrighty, so we're gonna start off with every single frame and just generate that fill.
And what if my Photoshop doesn't have that feature?
So if your Photoshop doesn't have that feature, you're probably not in the right version of Photoshop. So this new feature in Photoshop is only available in the beta version of Adobe Photoshop. So if you're in Adobe Photoshop, the full version, you won't see this. So what you need to do is go into Creative Cloud and download the beta version of Adobe Photoshop to be able to have this feature.
And just for anyone who's interested in trying that out, if you do pop open that Creative Cloud desktop app, you will be able to find beta access on the left-hand panel there. It's below the apps. So if you look under apps, you won't see it. But if you go to the beta tab on the side, you should be able to find it. Boom.
Right there. Alrighty.
But I imagine this will probably be going live pretty soon and you won't have to do that. So.
So we have our first image here. So I'm going to show you exactly how we're going to generate the rest of the image. That's to say everything we do not see here.
Get your paintbrushes.
So within Photoshop, what you want to do is select the rectangular marquee tool. Then you want to select the, I'm going to try and explain this. This is something I do and it's like all in my head. And I'm like, I need to put it into words for someone who's never done it before so they understand it. The rectangular marquee tool allows you to select a portion or an entire image within your Photoshop project, right? In this case, for generative fill, what we want Photoshop to know is I need you to generate this portion of my image. In our case, it's this right here, right? Because this doesn't exist. Now, we could just select this here. Okay, cool. But the thing is, we're trying to fill a frame. We're trying to continue a video that already exists. In this case, we're trying to continue an image that already exists in order to help generative fill know, oh, it needs to be a continuation of this image. We need to select a portion of the image already, right? So that's why I'm not only selecting the transparent portion of the photo, I'm also selecting a little bit of the image already so that when I click on generative fill, Photoshop will know, oh, okay, we're generating this, but it needs to take into account what's right below, what's also selected and already exists. I'm gonna pause. Just let that sink in.
For dramatic info. Oh my gosh, I love it.
Like, just to make sure people understand. So we're gonna click on generative fill. And here, what you can see, if this is your first time ever seeing this feature in Photoshop, is you could describe what you want to appear, right? Or you could just click on generate. In this case, Photoshop will simply fill in the frame using its artificial intelligence, knowing that you've selected a part of the existing image and you want it to fill up everything that doesn't exist. So everything above, everything that's in the checkered boxes, right? And we're going to click on generate.
And again, just once more for anyone that maybe their boss walked by and they're watching at work, or if you're just joining us, this is in the beta version of Photoshop. So if you do the marquee tool and you don't see this option, go ahead and hop in the beta version.
That's right. So here Photoshop has generated the rest of our frame. And as you can see, there's the building behind her. Because we selected a part of the image that already existed, it completely fills it up as though it's filled.
Wow, that's so impressive. It looked, I mean,
like
I couldn't do that, and that took, I don't know, what was that, like 2 seconds?
That was 3 seconds. You shouted out all those who are watching us from work and are scared of their bosses seeing them, and it showed up. And then on the right of our screen, we have variations. So when Photoshop generates an image using this new feature, it gives you 3 different options, right? And you can go ahead and scrub through them and see what do you like the most. I really like option 1. I think that's really good. Yeah. And then option 3 is nice. Option 2, they all work, to be honest.
Cycle through them slowly. I'm curious in the chat, anyone watching, what do you like the best? 1, and then let's see, 2, and then 3. Okay. Yeah, I think my pick is 1.
We're on the same page. So we're going to go with 1. There we go. So that's our first image. We're going to go ahead and do this for every single one before we export them. What I love to do is do the same task in batches. So another option is you could do each image, generate the fill, then export it, and then do the next one. But I like to do the same task and then do the same task again. So I'm going to go to
We might have some contesters. We're getting 2 in the chat as well.
Oh, okay.
Oh, nope. That was 1. Just kidding. Let's go with 1. Let's continue on.
Alrighty.
We're gonna do
So
this a few more times, so let's be ready.
we got 7, right? So clip number 2, we're gonna do the exact same thing. We're gonna select the rectangular marquee tool, select the portion of the image that does not exist, and then a little bit of what already exists. Just a touch. So when I do this, I try not to select the subject because the subject already exists, right? And I don't want Photoshop to mess that up. If you're at home, you can definitely test out selecting more of the subject. So what I mean by that is this right here. If we chose that, you know what? Let's have some fun. Let's see
Yeah,
what
I want to
happens
see
if
what
we do that.
happens. To be honest, as soon as you said that, it's like when you tell a little kid not to push the big red button. It's like you just have to
Yeah,
push it. So let's just see what it does out of curiosity, and then we'll jump back over.
I felt that too.
Let's
I was like,
explore. Yeah, and you're like, oh, gotta do it.
So once again, we click on generative fill. We don't need to put in a description because if we just click generate, Photoshop will fill in the blanks for us. I'm excited for this one.
I think it's gonna do pretty well. I feel good about it.
And get ready to vote 1, 2, or
Oh,
3. Look
okay.
at
Wow,
that.
it knew.
Okay.
Look at that. All
So
right,
here
so
we
let's take a
go.
look at option 1 here. This is 1. Okay, let's see 2.
This is 2. And this is 3.
They're all very similar.
They're really good.
Let's see CMO again. So 1. Okay, 2. This is 2. Okay. I mean, and 3. Ooh. What do you think here? What's your pick?
I like 1, but I'll tell you why I wouldn't even pick any of them. But let's just 1. My pick is number 1.
Okay. Rob says, wow, impressive. Hopefully he said it like that the way I said it, but okay. So 1, but you wouldn't go with any of these. Why is that?
So again, these are images, right? But what we
Right.
want to do is put this back into a video. And if we change part of her head and the background, when you go back into Premiere Pro, you'll see why it potentially wouldn't work. So what I'll do here is I'll just
Perfect.
export it so we can try it together. And then I'll do what
So Andrew says he
our
likes
actual
2. Sorry.
Yeah.
Rob likes 1, and then Wade says, can we do it again? So boom,
Yes, we
here we
can.
are.
We're doing it again. There we go. So what was our most popular number? 1, 2, or 3?
It's between 1 and 2. We got some people over on YouTube saying 2, and we got some people on Behance saying 1, and I think it's tied right now, actually, between 1 and 2.
Okay, let's do 2 because the first one we did 1. Okay, let's do 2, and I'll just export it because I want to show y'all what I actually do, and we'll just use this as an example once we go back into Premiere Pro.
Excellent.
And I'm gonna run through this quickly.
Yeah, we got another half hour or so.
Okay.
For anyone just tuning in, if you missed the beginning of this segment, don't worry, it is captured and stored on YouTube and Behance. So feel free to save this, go back, download the beta, follow along and try it out with your own stuff. And then you can play along with options 1, 2, or 3, or create even more. So definitely feel free to share this out after the stream. And as well, if you have anyone else that's interested in being on Adobe Live, over on the Adobe Behance website, there is a tab in the upper right-hand corner near the chat. It says guest recommendations. Feel free to recommend anyone you think should be on the show.
Alrighty. So here we go. What I did is the exact same thing. I just didn't select part of her head when I generated this last one.
Oh, yeah. Look at these results. I think it's much better. Giving a little more context to the scene.
Mm-hmm. So I'll do clip number 3, but just the first time I ever tried this, I screamed.
It's pretty mind-blowing.
I've
had
like,
to do this
what?
manually in the past for very specific photos, and it takes forever. Well, maybe not forever, but definitely a lot longer than what we're doing right now, and it probably doesn't look as good.
And this is just in a few seconds. You know what I'm like? It's crazy what we're able to do with technology. I'm curious to know in the chat, when you first heard of how AI was coming into our creative industries, were you scared, excited, or
Ooh.
indifferent?
Or are you just now finding out about AI? In which case, welcome to 2023.
So for clip number 3, I've done the exact same thing. I've selected the rectangular marquee tool, selected a portion of the image where there is nothing, as well as a part of the existing image, and I'm going to click Generative Fill and click on Generate. And get ready to choose variation 1, 2, or 3.
All right, we're standing by on numbers.
So this is variation number 1.
Okay.
What do we think? Do we like it? Let's take a look at number 2.
Yeah. Ooh. I like 2 much better so far, personally.
It's got character. And then we have 3.
Pretty similar to 1.
Mm-hmm. So I'm going to show them again.
Yeah,
we have
so
1.
We got 1. Yeah.
2. And 3.
So far, looks like the winner is number 2 at the moment.
Okay.
From what I can tell.
Let's see another one.
Ooh, oh, wow. No, 3 is coming in too, but we got more of these to get through as well. So 3 just took the lead. This is fun. I'm into it.
Let's take a look at clip number 4.
Like a game show going on here.
You know what I'm saying? You get a car. You get a car.
Exactly.
So we have clip number 4 here. What I love about this one is we're going to be doing the top and the bottom of the image. If you weren't with us when we were in Premiere Pro, the reason why we chose to get a screenshot of this particular character like this is because if we didn't, we'd lose the context of where she was, which is she's at a computer sitting at a desk, right? So that's why we didn't. We also cropped the bottom of the frame. So we're just going to go ahead and do the exact same thing to fill up this image. Click on the rectangular marquee tool. We're going to do the top first. Generative Fill, Generate.
We probably got another 20 to 25 minutes before we got to wrap up. And I definitely am excited to see how you bring this back to video form as well. Is that something we're going to get to see, I hope?
We're definitely going to get to see that.
Awesome.
So here we go. We're going to do the bottom of the frame.
And Oliver is asking, can you use the lasso tool instead of the rectangular marquee tool to grab some of the background and around the head? And I think, yeah, I think the answer is yes in short form. But what do you say?
I've actually never tried that. I've only used the rectangular marquee tool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it should work with the lasso tool as well.
So here we have the top of the frame and the bottom of the frame. Let's see what it's saying. We have option 1 here. It looks okay. I'm happy they didn't show any hands because as you know, or maybe you don't know, AI is not really good with hands right now. And then this is option 2. I like option 2.
2's the winner.
Yeah. Let's go to clip number 5. So once again, rectangular marquee tool.
In addition to like, so we can make backgrounds with this, but we can also add in elements with the generative fill as well. Have you played around with that yet?
I have. In creating
might be hard on this because we're not seeing a whole lot of the background and such, but yeah, curious your takeaways on it.
I found that it works a lot better with horizontal videos. Like for example, if I wanted to shoot a whole YouTube tutorial of me in my space right now, but I didn't have like a plant on my right side and I really wanted a plant, I would use generative fill to like enhance my space, like my studio space.
Mm-hmm. Mike is asking if we could maybe just try really quick, like could we maybe put a clock on that wall? And I think you can use the lasso tool if you wanted, or the circle marquee, just kind of draw an area. I'm just curious. Yeah, let's see what it does.
Alrighty, let's see.
And in my experience with this so far, I think as opposed to like the Adobe Firefly side of things where you can get a little more detailed, I think this works better if you keep it simple and let it generate.
So the first thing we've tried is a clock. So what I did is I selected the lasso tool, drew a circle, and then put clock.
Hmm.
Then I clicked on generate. So these are the variations that we've gotten. I feel like I could do better.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, like you said, I think the more information it has to work with, like maybe if this was the horizontal image, I think it would have more information to pull from too.
Let's try clock on a wall, because me doesn't know that it's on a wall.
For anyone watching, be sure to
That's not
subscribe.
bad. Look at that.
Oh, there we go. We're getting some perspective there.
A
And I
lot
think you
better.
could take that too. Like, I mean, with more time and everything, but I think you could composite that in there even better too and like change the brightness and everything. And you could sell
Mm-hmm.
that for sure.
Even the numbers, just fix them up a bit.
Well, we don't do math here. So
I meant on the clock, like the
I don't
two.
even know if that counts, like telling time in math. That's a stretch.
Alrighty, let's take a look at clip number 6. So we'll just select the rectangular marquee tool, select the portion of the image that doesn't exist and a little bit of the portion that already does. Click on Generative Fill and click Generate. I hope y'all are ready to choose what variation you like. Oh, look at that. Okay. So here we go. This is option
Wow.
number 1 that you're looking at here.
Wow.
Like it
It's
filled in the
impressive.
binders,
That's
the
insane.
shell.
That's so cool. Oh man. Yeah, I want to. Ooh, okay.
We have a clock now. Okay. That's variation number 2.
Mm-hmm.
And here we have variation number 3. So you can go ahead and let us know in the chat if you like number 1, number 2,
Math time. I gotta add these up.
or number 3. Y'all are making Alex work.
Oh man, earning it over here. We'll give it a second and see what people chime in on, but let's go ahead and continue with your personal favorite. Or how many more of these we got? Oh, this is the last one,
This
huh?
is the last one.
And
So
this
here
is
we
the one
got
with the
some hair. Yeah. So selected the portion of the image that didn't exist and a little bit of her hair. And now we're going to generate the top of the frame. Let's see what Photoshop got for us. Look at that, y'all. That's
Wow,
hair.
that's so impressive. That's really, really impressive.
And like
And
it's
to circle
seamless.
back around too, we got I think 2's the winner. We got a couple votes for 2 on Behance, and then over on YouTube we have 1 for 3. So I think 2's the winner on the last one. So just in case you were wondering.
Perfect. So I chose 2 for clip number 6. So this is the top of her hair. I think we can all agree that like they all look pretty good. So I'm just gonna go ahead and choose number 1. And let's do the bottom of her frame. So we have her shirt in here. It's a yellow shirt.
Man, I'm just imagining this for like even just photo shoots. Like there's so many uses for this. It's unbelievable. It's gonna save so much time.
Oh, you can get so creative. Like I had this idea, and maybe someone in the chat can actually do it who's watching violation of guidelines. No, we're not violating anything. Like recreating popular album covers, but you just take an image of what you have access to. So maybe you can just be in a similar setting, have similar lighting, and then you just generate the elements that you don't have access to and like recreate them. And because you're just recreating something that already exists, like it'd be a good way for you to practice without. I'm very respectful.
Well, that is the good thing about the AI for Adobe. It definitely makes sure to credit artists and only use stuff that's licensed. Can't say that for everyone else.
Let's try that one more time. I wonder why it's.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So what has happened here, for those of you who are watching, is we're trying to generate the bottom of this frame. I've tried it twice, and every time it tells me, do not violate.
Well, that's the beta, ladies and gentlemen. Things sometimes come up. I'm not sure. I haven't worked in it quite enough to know what's going on there, but
yeah. But that's okay.
Yeah, these things happen. So
we're just gonna move forward with the first 6 clips, and then if we have the time, we'll circle back to the 7th clip. So now what
Totally.
we want to do once you've generated the rest of the frame for all of the images that you exported from Premiere Pro and put into Photoshop, you want to export them so we can put them back into Premiere Pro. So
Oh, Oliver says, by the way, that there's certain areas of people that it won't generate. Good to know.
thank you for the tip, Oliver. I thought that because it is her chest area.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, maybe
Interesting.
it's
Wow.
feeling weird about this, but I was like, I'm not sure. But thank you for bringing that up. I'm glad I'm not the only one that thinks that. So clip number 1, we're going to go ahead and export it.
And yeah, friendly reminder that beta is for a non-commercial use only. So
I'm just gonna go and name these.
got some construction going on outside. I hope you guys aren't hearing that.
We can't hear it.
Excellent. As I was saying earlier, be sure to subscribe on Adobe Behance, as well as over on YouTube. Click the little bell, join in. It is YouTube at Adobe Live, and also on Instagram to keep the simple, quick updates and see the little cut downs and things you missed. So feel free to join in there. We are hanging out here with Afoali, who is a AI generating vertical wizard, really. I don't know if that's an official title, but that's the title I'm assigning. So
I think we can work with that.
Yeah, this is good. This is a great topic, by the way. I'm so glad you chose this and are bringing it out to the community. It's really cool to see all this new stuff coming out with AI just all over the place. And also just the way you're utilizing it. I don't think I would have thought of doing that for vertical video, which is your specialty. So of course you thought of it.
I'm grateful for the opportunity to get to share with all of you.
Yeah, and definitely go check out her work. We can get your website up there. We can maybe have the mods post that. There it is. That is your company 9 by 6. Do you say 916 or 9 by 16?
916.
916. Okay.
That's right.
Excellent. Yeah, go check out her work. Absolutely incredible. Very fun stuff.
So we're back into Premiere Pro. We're going to be taking the photos that we generated in Photoshop, put them back into Premiere, and now edit our videos. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a bin so we can put all these photos in Premiere in an organized manner. So I'm just going to put build frames. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop all of our files. I'm just a bit of a perfectionist. There we go. So we have all the frames, right? Except for clip number 7, which we're going to get back to. So here we are. Let's play our video again for those of you who weren't here when we finished off with Premiere Pro in the first part, so you can take a look at what we have.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you for kind of doing that little recap too. For those who might have missed the beginning, we're basically taking horizontal video and making a vertical video, but we're not scaling it in and losing all that resolution and quality and background. We are actually using Photoshop Generative Fill to create that extra background so we can stay zoomed out a little bit and get more of the actual creative work that went into the shots.
That's right. And just so we can get through every single clip, I'm just going to shorten them a little bit. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got probably another 10, 12 minutes, and then we'll do kind of just a real quick recap.
Okay. So what I did there is I selected all the clips and I set them to the same duration, which is, it was like 15 seconds. No, it was less than 15 seconds. And now I'm just going to close the gap between each of the clips. So here it is.
Man, I love the way, I mean, you gave that tip earlier. I love the way you use that kind of search help feature. I never use that, and I'm just watching you do it, which is why I love doing these, because I get to see how other people work, and I could definitely see that being so helpful.
Impact over
just for like
input.
close gap there. Yeah.
Alrighty, so let's get into filling these frames, right? So we have clip number 1 right here. What we're going to do is select the image of clip number 1 that we filled and put it over clip number 1. As you can see, it's way too long, so we're just going to go ahead and make that the exact same duration as clip number 1. So here it is. And because the image is on the video layer that's above, as you can see, we can't see the video, right? She doesn't move.
Yeah.
But what we're going to do now is we're going to mask the video so that the frame that we generated will be visible, but the video itself will also be visible. I'm going to do it, and I think it will make a lot more sense. So in order to do that, we're going to put the video layer above the image, just like this. So now, as you can see, if I play it, the video is above. We're going to select the video, click Effects Control, and then click Free Draw Bezier. So we're going to create a mask, and we're going to create one that's custom so we can draw exactly how we want it to show up, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and draw around her head. And I'm going to click outside of the frame just because we like the bottom of the frame, because that was actually in the image, right? We liked it.
Yeah. So right now we're basically going to kind of composite that generated image into our video footage.
Exactly. I'm just going to make it smaller so I can see all around the video. There we go. So when I turn off the layer underneath, that's to say the image that we generated in Photoshop, as you can see, this is the mask that we created, right? So this was the video before we created the mask.
Yeah.
This is the video once we created the mask. Now, when we turn on the photo that we generated in Photoshop underneath, this is what it looks like. Everything above is now filled.
Does that really play through?
And now let's play it.
Just like a little sleight of hand, smoke and mirrors kind of trick there, huh?
Unless I told you that that's what I did, you wouldn't know that that's what I did.
Yeah, no, I couldn't tell.
And
because your eyes aren't really drawn to that area either. You know, you're looking at her in the real video.
Exactly.
And so we would just continue this process throughout for the other clips.
Exactly. So I'm just going to go ahead and place all of our photos under the clips and then create the masks for each one.
Now, let me ask you. So since you're in the world of 9:16 stories, see what I did there? Would you, I mean, this is a little bit of a tedious process. I think some people would agree, although it does seem to work very well. How often do you typically like scale things in for each shot, since we do have to apply this to every individual shot? How often would you scale it in versus doing this technique? And do you do it for everything, or do you maybe pick and choose like a couple shots that really maybe lose that significance if you zoom them in too much and you lose all that background? What's your approach there?
So
mix and match.
Again, impact over input with everything that you do. The first question I'd ask myself is, what's the impact I want this video to have, right? And if it's really important that we see more of the frame and scaling it up is not enough for us to do that, then I'm going to be doing this. But if I don't need to be going into Photoshop and creating masks and all of this, I will not do it. And that's strictly because of the amount of time that's required to be able to, one, make sure that the part of your video you're selecting is ideal for this technique, and then going into Photoshop, generating what you need, as in that doesn't exist in the image, putting it back into Premiere Pro and masking it out, right? Impact over input. That's how I would go about it. And again, the impact is what's the goal with this video? If it's a video where we really need to see everything, let's do it. If it's not, let's not do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I gotta ask this question. It's kind of related, kind of unrelated, but I know it always comes up. And what is your take on shooting specifically vertical video versus shooting horizontal and transforming it into vertical or preparing it for vertical?
So I am pro film everything horizontally.
Okay.
Let me take a step back. I am pro pre-production is the most important stage of your production process. They say a movie is created 3 times: when you write it, when you shoot it, and when you edit it. And with videos, it's when you write your script or you plan out what am I shooting, right? And everything you do needs to be having, again, that impact, that end impact in mind. So if I'm creating a video and I know that they're at a certain point, we're going to have to like share it in a vertical format, I will always film it horizontally, because one of my pet peeves with this vertical video craze that we have is like, that's it. It's filmed vertically and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
There is
That's
no,
it. You can't go back.
you
There's no other
literally
option.
cannot go back. Like imagine,
Mm-hmm.
like it's with the Apple Vision Pro being so big, it's showing us that we don't, humans, like we look from left to right, right? Like that the next evolution of how we consume um stories through video, through moving pictures, is going to be more immersive, meaning it won't be vertical. Um, so if I film everything vertically and we evolve into the next format, I literally cannot evolve with
Right.
it, right? Because everything of mine is in 916. Whereas if I film it horizontally, I can crop it down to 4:5, 916, whatever format I want. So I am pro plan first, know exactly what you want to do with the video today, then film it with that in mind. So if I'm filming a horizontal video, I use grid lines in my camera. So I'm framing it with how it will be cropped in the edit, but it's horizontal. So if I needed it in a horizontal format, it exists. I'm not like, oh shit, like I can't do anything. So my answer is film it horizontally. If you want to have it vertically, keep that in mind. So as you're shooting it, you have the option to make sure that your subjects are framed for you to crop it accordingly.
I think that's the best possible answer. Pre-pro is very important, and knowing where your final deliverable is going to go, I think is absolutely the best answer in determining, how to go about doing it. But I definitely agree. I'm a fan of the horizontal. We lose a lot of information, but with this technique, maybe we don't have to. So I love it.
So I've done every single clip.
Which really didn't take long. I mean,
it didn't. Then again, it's
yeah,
because our clips are quite short, right?
true,
And
very
the
true.
camera is not moving, the subject's not moving. There's a clip that if we have time, I'll show you how it gets complicated when the camera is moving, the subject is moving. But before we get into that, one, if you're in the chat, I want to know, do you film exclusively vertically or are you pro horizontal videos? And
Mm-hmm.
two, I want to show you a little trick here. So we've masked out the subject, right, in the videos to make sure that it blends with the image that we generated in Photoshop. But what you'll find is sometimes the edges are very abrupt when you don't feather them. And this is something that I do when I use this trick, is I make sure to feather the edges so that the transition from the video to the photo is seamless. I'm going to do it here. You probably can't see it very much because Photoshop Generative Fill was really, really good to us. Like it's very, look at this.
I mean,
There is no feathering, not at all. And you can't even tell. I'm just going to play everything so we can see it all together. So here, I don't know if you saw that. I'm going to play it again. Right here. Doo-doo.
oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Not too
Look
bad.
at
Not
that.
too good, yeah.
Now we know how to spot it, for
There we
people that
go.
aren't watching this and aren't getting your tip. We'll know.
And here is an extra bonus tip. As I mentioned, what you can do is feather the edges of the mask that you created to make it a little bit more seamless. So here, zero feathering. As you can see, there's this harsh line here. When you zoom in, you can see it. When you zoom out, not as much, but if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it well. So I'm just gonna go ahead and feather the mask, and it just makes it a little bit more seamless. And then with the
And
hair right here, I'm going to zoom in again. We're going to do the same thing. And sometimes you might have to like do more than just feathering the edges of your mask. Maybe it's completely moving the mask. So here, for example, it's not really giving like that, is it?
and this is again, this is that, oh no, this is that one where, was this the shot that the head was being blocked or cut off a little bit?
No, remember that one? She
That was like the later shot, right? Okay.
yeah, Photoshop told us we're violating guidelines. So here, the solution I would have for this is to go back into Photoshop and generate it without selecting any of her hair.
And this is that learning process I think you were speaking to earlier, where it's like, sometimes it doesn't work. You got to go back and kind of try it again. But each one of these, it seems like you're going to learn the things that it works great on and might need a little bit more work. So we are getting close to the end. Do you have any kind of final things that you want to show us and then maybe give us kind of a little recap?
I think we can just go over the whole video that we just created and then go into the recap. Yeah. So I'm going to play the video. We covered everything. The only thing we didn't do is the 7th clip, which kind of bugged in Photoshop, but you have the essentials of how you can go from a horizontal video into a vertical video and use Photoshop Generative Fill to generate the portion of the image that you did not actually film when you're shooting your video horizontally. So I'm going to play what we created together today.
And it goes so quick too. You would never notice even that little hair mistake. Like
I'm just gonna play it again so you can see what was filled in.
Wow. Yeah, and then show us the final one more time with it turned on. Oh my gosh, that is such a great little hack. Obviously it only works for very specific stuff, but I don't think I ever would have thought of doing it that way. So huge kudos to you on the creativity there. I love that. Definitely can't wait to see this implemented inside Premiere. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Not a push, just a wink and a nudge.
Exactly. Awesome. But, and then what were the key things so we took our horizontal video, scaled it appropriately in the frame to what you thought would work best. Make a PNG instead of a JPEG, and then 1, 2, or 3 in Photoshop, and avoid math at all costs.
Exactly. Also avoid hair if you can. If people are moving, export those PNGs with the generated elements that you created in Photoshop, put them back into Premiere Pro, place them on the timeline according to the videos that they are associated with. Use the masking tool to mask out the videos. Use feathering if the edges are a bit too rough, and that does the trick. You'll generate a vertical video from a horizontal video without having your subject being way too zoomed in and without losing the context that tells the story you're trying to tell with the video that you created.
Awesome. Yeah, I love it. Do you have any kind of final closing remarks? We've been hanging out with Afoali. Sorry, I still have trouble with that. My apologies. And she's been kind of showing us all the little tips and tricks for Adobe Photoshop Generative Fill. And if you missed any of it, definitely check out the replay, which will be on both YouTube and Adobe Behance. Be sure to subscribe. It's been so good having you. Do you have any last remarks? Where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram. That's _Afoali, AFOALI. That's the same username for all social media platforms. And of course, my website that's in the chat. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to send me a message. I'm more than happy to share with you. Sharing things like this and empowering people to tell their own stories is something I'm extremely passionate about. So do not hesitate. And remember, impact over input. In everything you do with these edits, like, I know there's so many tools that are coming out, but think about what can I do that has the least input, but it will have the biggest impact.
I love it. I've had such a good time hanging out with you here. I definitely learned a lot and just gave me some creative ideas for future projects. We are signing off, but for those in the chat, definitely stick around. The day is not done. Next up, we have a new episode of Animation 201, and that is a new series that explores the 12 principles of animation using After Effects. This week's focus is the principle that is used to give the illusion of speed by smearing lines and shapes. So stick around, that's coming up right now. Afoali, it's been absolute pleasure having you here and hope to see you back soon. It's been really fun. You've been great. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me, Alex. Bye-bye.
Yeah. All right, guys, take it easy.